A home should be a tool to live the life we choose, not a container for existing. A home should be in service to a life, not a life in service to a home. Let me tell you about our van. This is Shonky, a 2014 Renault Traffic, which used to be our old work van during our brief stint as gardeners.
These are our friends and family. We take them with us on every adventure.
The bed conveniently doubles as a coffin in case of emergencies. And yes, we both fit nicely.
Underneath the bed is our garage. We installed a shower for those moments of desperation, which occur far more frequently than we'd like to admit. It's also where we store our hopes and dreams for a life of arts and craft on the road.
It's also where we wash our dishes. The kitchen is the most well thought out part of the van and features a comprehensive spice rack. Cass insisted.
The living space serves multiple purposes, from lounge room to dining room to editing studio.
Being such a small space, we do the majority of our living outside and up on the roof.
Most nights you can find us up there, gazing up at the stars and dreaming up all the big ideas of what we're going to do with our life and what it's all about. And that's Shonky. It's not much, but it is home. What do you think of when you think of home? Is it family dinners, maybe a community, or maybe a space where you can create art? For me, home is the sound of the ocean. It's a place where I can see the stars, a warm, cozy blanket and a nice hot cup of tea.
A specific smell when you walk in the front door. And maybe a half-finished project that you swear you're going to get around to. Or several.
Home it's safe. It's a feeling.
And maybe you feel that too. Maybe you have a version of it. A place that feels like yours. Home is culturally entwined with how we live. Home is where the heart is. There's no place like home. A home should be the treasure chest of living.
And what's interesting about all of those things that we just mentioned, the stars, the hot cups of tea, the family gatherings, none of them actually require a house. We fold and compress ourselves into a house to fit into a house like a beautiful tapestry being shoved into a box because it's never quite ready to be displayed. Home, it's almost like we've forgotten that what home is supposed to be, what it can enable us to do.
For most of us, this feeling of home has become inextricably pinned to a house and subsequently pinned to a mortgage. And with that mortgage, it becomes a job that we aren't completely inspired by, or a dream or a passion that just feels a little bit out of reach because our mortgage tends to get paid before we do. The etymology of the word mortgage is actually quite interesting. It's from an old French term. Mort, meaning dead, and gage, meaning pledge, which translates roughly to death pledge. You can see where the French no longer use the word to describe a home loan.
Signing something that means death pledge wasn't exactly comforting. So we decided that our lives didn't really fit in with this idea of home confined to a house. We realized that the lifestyle that we wanted wasn't compatible with these two concepts clashing.
Now, our version of home might look a little shonky, but for us, a home should be a tool to live the life we choose, not a container for existing. A home should be in service to a life, not a life in service to a home. But what if we could unpin this feeling of home from a house?
What if a home didn't even have to have a fixed address or even a postcode?
Now, this life in Shonky, it didn't start as some sophisticated sociological experiment. We just really, really wanted to live in a van and travel. In fact, this was our plan in its entirety. I think we did pretty well.
We wanted adventure, and so we taught ourselves how to build a van from scratch. And we built it and hit the road running.
Which is a dramatic under-exaggeration of a painstaking year's worth of work, but I digress.
But as soon as we crossed that threshold, something changed. We realized that home it had 4 wheels. We realized that if home wasn't linked or bound to a single patch of dirt, then maybe it didn't even require solid walls. We lived in this nylon home while we were traveling around Tasmania. We had some of the best views, but we did have some minor boundary disputes with the neighbours.
Fun fact, if you visit Tasmania, this is what you get to deal with a lot. And as uncertain as these environments may seem, we still had a roof over our heads. We still had that sense of safety.
Do you remember when we had waterfront property, James?
I do.
Oh my God, James! The mat! Your shoes! James! We don't get this anymore.
Bougie, I know. Some top tier stuff. Throughout all of those experiences, despite what they may seem, we still had security, autonomy, a place to make a cup of tea and gaze up at the stars. We just refused to believe that those things could only happen in a permanent set of brick coordinates.
James! Oh, I hear the voice of my working class traditional values grandfather saying from my shoulder. What about the return on investment? Start early, get a mortgage in your 20s and watch that equity compound. He was old-fashioned. And that's great financial advice for a house. Back in 2021, Cass and I were faced with this crossroads. We'd painstakingly squirreled away $30,000, a deposit. We could have done the responsible thing, walked into a mortgage broker, signed the paperwork, and bought ourselves a fairly suburban house right here in Western Australia. Down one road, a house promised us this feeling of security and stability. Down the other, we were faced with the unknown. If we'd made that decision to buy a house back then, based on how the market has moved since, the property's value would have grown, and we'd be sitting on a pretty $250,000 in pure property equity. Stan was right. It's simple math. By passing up that chance to buy a house, we missed out on all that compounding. But what about the return on us? In this model, our equity grows, but we don't. Instead, we took that $30,000 and we converted Shonky, our first home, and we travelled Australia, which compounded into jumping on the back of a motorcycle and riding across the Nullarbor to the other side of Australia to visit some friends in Tasmania, which compounded into coming home and then building a second van, except this time doing such a good job we were able to sell it for a profit, which compounded into a 3-week trip to Canada, which turned into a spontaneous visa application, and then spending a year living in a mountain town, balancing our time working in a makerspace, learning about wood and pottery, while trying to teach ourselves how to snowboard with gear that we picked up at the charity shop, which compounded into sharing that journey online, which turned into getting commissioned to shoot a documentary, which compounded into standing here tonight, sharing this story with you. Let me be absolutely clear. A mortgage does not maliciously steal years and zest away from our lives. But like the decision to travel, or start an experimental business, or pursue some all-consuming creative passion, a mortgage is an experiential transaction, and it consumes our most personal non-renewable resource, time. Before we pursue any of these experiences, we should be asking ourselves, is this time well spent? So Stan, with all due respect, we did take your advice. We started early and we watched our investment compound. We just invested in a different asset class.
The years that we have spent in conventional housing, the times that we've spent in conventional housing have been the times that we have felt the least at home. In contrast, when we were living in Canada, we used to queue up for over an hour at the food bank for bruised veggies. Because even though we were both working 2 jobs, we still didn't make enough money to buy fresh groceries. And yet, we were so happy. We chose this life. We made our own home. And it really did feel like home. It felt more like home than any house has ever made us feel.
Because we were living in a home that was enabling us to do the things that we said to ourselves in those private moments that we wanted to do with our lives. It enabled us to explore new places. It enabled us to live among the mountains and meet a community of like-minded people just like us. In our own way, we felt like we were making a very big difference in a very small corner of the world.
Home could be a van with the best mountain views.
Home could take us to extraordinary places.
Home could be something that we owned outright without the 30-year commitment.
And if a fixed address is your blue sky, if it serves your experience of life truly and brings you joy, then that is brilliant.
But if it's not, if you find yourself at a crossroads trading your time for a container that's too heavy to move, know that there are always other choices.
We've met people from all walks of life, from young families with toddlers to retirees with dogs on motorcycles, remote workers, tradies, artists, all redefining home and how they live to prioritize their story. At the beginning of this talk, we shared with you this morbid etymology of the word mortgage. Sorry about that. We want to propose a new contract.
When you go home today, back to your homes, we want to encourage you to sign a different type of contract.
A contract that we coined called a vigage, meaning life pledge. There are versions of this playing out all around us, each of them beautiful and uniquely exciting in their own ways. And a home should facilitate that commitment.
Home could be a space where you can encourage family gatherings.
Home could be a tool that we use to meet a community of people that have been waiting to meet someone just like us.
Home could inspire us to create art and express ourselves.
That is what it is to sign a vigage.
To choose to experience life.
To choose to live authentically.
To choose to live joyfully. And to finally feel at home.
Thank you.